The Unconventional Heart, Whoopi Goldberg's redefinition of love, legacy, and living alone for over half a century. Whoopi Goldberg has not just existed in the public eye, she has commandeered it, shaping culture with a singular blend of piercing wit, profound empathy, and unassailable authenticity. We know the icon, the EGOT-winning actress who made us believe in ghosts, the comedian who shattered ceilings, the View co-host whose voice can silence a cacophony of chatter with one weary, wise syllable. We know the professional triumphs and the societal battles, but the private woman, the one navigating the universal human yearning for connection, has remained a compelling enigma wrapped in a dashiki. Her love life is not a tabloid scroll of fleeting scandals, it is a deliberate, complex, and revolutionary blueprint for living and loving on one's own absolute terms. This is a deep dive into that blueprint, a story not of finding the one, but of a woman who decided, repeatedly and defiantly, that she was the one all along, and built her romantic world from that unshakable foundation. Act I: The Crucible, Love as Survival, the Early Years 1970s. To understand Whoopi Goldberg's philosophy of love, one must start in the crucible that forged her, the Chelsea Elliott houses in Manhattan. Born Karen Elaine Johnson, love was not an abstract concept of poetry and roses. It was a tangible, gritty force. It was the love of a struggling single mother, Emma Johnson, who worked multiple jobs. This early reality stripped romance of its fantasy and framed it in pragmatism. The fairy tale was a luxury her circumstances could not afford. Her first foray into formalized partnership was born from this pragmatism. At 18, pregnant and seeking stability, she married her drug counselor, David Clayson. The union was brief, a mere year, and has often been reduced to a footnote. But to dismiss it is to miss its seismic importance. This relationship produced her first great, defining love, her daughter, Alexandria, born in 1973. Motherhood did not blossom from a romantic ideal, it was the bedrock reality that reshaped her entire universe. Love, in this instant, transformed from something one might feel into something one must do. It was the relentless, grinding, glorious work of keeping a tiny human alive and loved. This period as a young, single mother on welfare, taking any job from bricklayer to funeral parlor beautician, established the non-negotiable pillars of Whoopi's entire life. Autonomy was survival. Self-reliance was sacred. Any future romantic partner would not be a knight on a white horse coming to rescue her. She was already doing the rescuing. They would, at best, be a fellow traveler, someone who could match her stride without expecting her to slow down or carry them. The conventional narrative of a woman completed by a man was incinerated in the daily struggle of these years, leaving behind a steel spine of independence. Act 2: The Spotlight and the Script, the 1980s and 1990s performances of convention, as her alter ego, Whoopi Goldberg, exploded onto the national stage via her groundbreaking one-woman show, and subsequent film superstardom. The world waited for her personal life to follow a familiar Hollywood script. The public, and perhaps a part of Whoopi herself, experimented with this script. Her long-term relationship with actor David Schwimmer during her rise was private, a haven from the spotlight. But it was her marriage to cinematographer Alvin Martin in 1986 that seemed to signal a transition into a more traditional star narrative. Here was a partner within her industry, someone who understood the strange rhythms of her new life. Yet, within 2 years, it was over. The pressures of dual careers, the dizzying ascent after The Color Purple, and the inherent challenges of merging two established lives proved too great. It was an early indication that professional synergy did not guarantee marital harmony. Then came the marriage that would become a public referendum on her choices, her 1994 union with Lyle Trachtenberg, a union organizer she met on a political talk show. It was a whirlwind, a 5-month courtship leading to marriage. The media portrayed it as impulsive, bizarre, a mismatch. The marriage lasted 1 year, and ended in a painfully public palimony lawsuit. This chapter is often viewed as a low point, but in the arc of her journey, it is a critical turning point. By her own admission, this was an attempt to force herself into a prefabricated box labeled wife. She was performing a role, the newly married celebrity, that fundamentally clashed with her core identity. The devastating, public fallout was the cost of that performance. It was the universe's blunt lesson: this script is not for you. The pain of this failure was not in loving and losing, but in betraying her own hard-won self-knowledge to appease an external idea of normalcy. Amidst these romantic experiments, another profound relationship was deepening, her partnership with Ted Danson. Their connection in the early 90s was intense, highly publicized, and met with a racist backlash that was both vile and revealing. The relationship ultimately ended, but its significance is multifaceted. It was a very public interracial love at a time when such pairings still provoked outrage, demonstrating her refusal to be bound by societal prejudice. It was also a partnership of comedic giants, a meeting of peers. While not lasting, it reinforced her need for a partner who could stand as an equal in the glare of the fame she inhabited. Act 3. The Architect, designing a new model. The 2000s present autonomy as aphrodisiac, emerging from the tumult of the 90s. Whoopi Goldberg entered a new millennium not as a seeker, but as an architect. She had learned the expensive lessons of performing for others. Now, she would design a structure for love that honored the foundation laid in those Chelsea projects, her inviolable autonomy. This era is defined by two significant, concurrent relationships that exemplified her new philosophy. The first was with actor Frank Langella. This was a partnership of the mind and spirit, a romance between two formidable artists at the peak of their powers. It was passionate, intellectual, and peer-to-peer. It did not lead to marriage or domestic entanglement, and its end seemed to carry a tone of mutual respect rather than bitter dissolution. It represented the ideal of a love that exists in a realm of pure connection, unburdened by societal expectation. The second, and most definitive, was her 13-year partnership with cinematographer Eric D. Robinson, 2005 to 2018. This relationship became the living manifesto of Whoopi Goldberg's mature love. They never married. For most of those 13 years, they maintained separate homes. To a world obsessed with milestones and mergers, this was incomprehensible. But for Whoopi, it was the pinnacle of romantic success. In countless interviews on The View, she defended and celebrated this model. "I don't want somebody in my house," she famously stated, not as a dismissal of love, but as its most profound requirement. Her love needed breathing room. Her sanctuary, her home was sacred. A partner was not someone who moved into that sanctuary, but someone she chose to visit, and who chose to visit her, day after day, for over a decade. This was not a compromise or a fear of commitment. It was commitment redefined. It was a commitment to showing up, to choosing each other, without the legal or social binds that she had seen turn sour. It was a bond based on presence, not possession. The stability and longevity of this relationship proved, to her and to the watching world, that her model worked. Love could be deep, enduring, and simultaneously set you free. The View, the laboratory, and the lectern, the platform of The View, was instrumental in crystallizing and broadcasting her philosophy. It transformed her from a subject of gossip into a professor of personal politics. The show became a daily laboratory where she could dissect relationships, society, and her own past with the precision of a surgeon and the humor of a master comedian. Her most controversial statements on love were made here. When she said marriage was not for everybody, it was a seismic declaration that challenged a foundational social institution. Her clarification about her sexuality: "I am not a lesbian who's never come out. I am something else altogether. I am a human who loves humans," was a masterstroke that rejected categorization itself. She spoke of the joy of sleeping alone, of the sanity of separate bathrooms and bedrooms, not as complaints, but as celebrations. Each time a celebrity divorce splashed across the headlines, Whoopi provided context from the front lines. She spoke of the loneliness that can exist inside a marriage, the quiet death of a connection that no legal document can prevent. She reframed her own divorces not as failures, but as successful exits from situations that were no longer tenable. The View allowed her to author the definitive version of her own story, in real time, turning a personal journey into a public pedagogy on self-worth and authentic living. Uncovering the core truth, the four pillars of Whoopi's love beneath the headlines, the marriages, and the partnerships, a consistent truth emerges, built on four unwavering pillars. 1. The primacy of motherhood/family. Alexandria, and later her grandchildren, are the sun around which all other planets orbit. Romantic love is a satellite to this gravitational center. Her family is her first creation, and her forever commitment, a love that is unconditional and action-oriented. 2. The sanctity of autonomy. Her hard-won independence is not just a personality trait, it is the core of her being. Any love that requires its diminishment is, by definition, toxic. Her ideal partnership is a federation of two sovereign states, with mutual respect treaties and clear borders. 3. The rejection of external scripts. She has systematically deconstructed society's timeline: marry by X, have kids by Y, retire with Z. Her life demonstrates that the script can be tossed out entirely. Success is measured by peace, not by checking boxes. 4. Love is an action, not a state. For Whoopi, love is a verb demonstrated through daily choice. It is choosing to call, to show up, to be present, whether for a child, a friend, or a partner. The legal contract of marriage does not guarantee this action. In fact, it can sometimes replace the need for it. Her long-term, unmarried partnership was the ultimate expression of love as a conscious, renewable choice. The legacy, the contentment of a self-complete universe today. Whoopi Goldberg's love life is in its most peaceful, empowered chapter. She is single, not as a condition of absence, but as a condition of fullness. She has spoken of having wonderful male friends who provide companionship without complication. She revels in the chaos and joy of her family, the intellectual stimulation of her work, the depth of her friendships, and, perhaps most importantly, her own formidable, fascinating company. The frantic search is over because the construction is complete. She has built a life so rich, so layered, and so authentically hers that a partner is no longer a necessity for completion, but a potential bonus, a delightful guest in the sprawling mansion of her existence, a guest who must understand they are visiting a finished work of art, not a construction site. Whoopi Goldberg's love story, therefore, is the antithesis of a romantic comedy. It is an epic of self-possession. It tells us that the most important relationship we will ever have is the one with ourselves. It teaches that setting boundaries is an act of love, not rejection. It demonstrates that one can be fiercely independent and deeply capable of commitment. It just might be a commitment that looks different. In a world obsessed with coupling, she stands as a powerful testament to the truth that being whole unto oneself is not a tragedy, but the greatest triumph. Her legacy in love is a quiet revolution, the freedom to define it for yourself, and the courage to live that definition, unapologetically, every single day. Thanks for the watching and subscribe.